So Thanksgiving's right around the corner.
Yeah, I mean, by the time this goes up, it'll be tomorrow.
Or, depending on when you listen to it, it could be yesterday or a month ago. Or maybe you don't even celebrate Thanksgiving, so you have no idea when it is.
True.
But, I don't know. Thanksgiving, it's not my favorite holiday.
Why?
I don't really care for the food.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, you don't really...
Like,
you're in for the cranberry sauce and that's it.
Yeah, like, the turkey's fine. I eat it, I guess. You know, sometimes there's a nice ham, which I'm down for. But yams, not my stuff. Dinner rolls, you can have those anytime. Stuffing, So everyone else is like, oh my gosh, I'm so stuffed. And I'm just like, I could go for a pizza right now.
Jeez. I'd like some pizza and Mountain Dew, thank you.
It is the dinner of champions.
Oh, God.
It is the dinner of champions.
I'm in it for the mac and cheese. But, like,
Oh,
that's when people bring out, like, the peak mac and cheese.
Yeah.
It's, like, best recipe mac and cheese.
My sister has really good mac and cheese.
I know, I'm craving it. She gave me the recipe, and I'm obsessed. Like, I just want to make it every day. It's so good.
Honestly, though. So, yeah, I don't know. It comes and goes. Like, I like the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade.
Mm-hmm.
This big event on Thanksgiving morning, if you're not familiar, where they have hot air balloons and Pikachu always shows up. Eevee's showing up this year.
I know. Ya boy.
Ya boy, Eevee. And Santa always ends it out, and it just puts me into the Christmas mood.
The Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade that kicks off Thanksgiving puts you in the Christmas mood?
Yeah, because it always ends with Santa Claus, because it's ringing in the Christmas season. Santa is always the last person at the end of the parade on his sleigh, and that means that we're officially allowed to start celebrating Christmas. Look, I don't make the rules, I just follow them.
I've never watched a Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade in my life. I've never watched one. I have no interest. Which is weird because I'm really into parades.
Yeah.
But just not this one, and I don't know why.
I don't know why either. It's delightful.
I think it's because Thanksgiving is a holiday where we never really got much time off from school. And so the idea that someone wanted me to wake up early on one of my few days off aggravated me. And so I didn't want to watch the parade.
Oh, it doesn't actually start till like 10.
I want to sleep in until noon.
Okay, that's fair enough. That's fair enough. But welcome back to ThoughtCast, the video game and anime podcast. I'm John.
And I'm Allie.
And so there's not all too much news again this week. I mean, the Game Awards announced its nominees.
Go vote.
For Psychonauts 2.
Yep. I'm indifferent. I mean, like, I'm not indifferent. You should vote for Psychonauts 2 because it's a great game. But also, like, I like some other games on the list too, man. I don't know.
I am completely biased, and I will say only vote for Psychonauts 2 and Nier Replicant.
True.
Premium stuff. And then, on top of that, like, Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl came out.
Blizzard's on fire again.
I mean, did they ever put it out?
No.
They made it look like they did. They renamed McCree to Cole Cassidy.
Ah.
Yeah.
That did something.
That made a change. That made a change.
And also, just with the news, you guys seem to really like our conversation last week, for those of you who left comments on our YouTube video. So if you're into this whole, like, hey, we're going to mostly talk about a topic that isn't game news, then please let us know in YouTube comments or by emailing us or tweeting at us or doing any of the things.
Yes. Any and all of the things, if you would like.
Oh, yeah.
The world is your oyster. Mm-hmm. So what are we talking about today?
We're going to be talking about, with the release of Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl, seems very on point.
Yes.
Brand loyalty, nostalgia, what makes you stick around for a game or an anime or a manga or any of the things?
Mm-hmm.
Why are you so attached? So, I guess we should start out with, what are you super nostalgic for? What are you super loyal to, whether it's a console or games or manga or anime or any of the things? Where do you lie? Where's your brand loyalty?
So, I mean, so I think that this is such a weird conversation to talk about because I definitely do have distinct brand loyalty in a lot of places. And it's almost become, not almost, it definitively has become stigmatized to like a brand for whatever reason. Because so often I see on Twitter, and I have actively been called a fanboy on Twitter, not because of anything other than the fact that I don't say negative things about it. And being critical and looking at something through a critical lens is good and important, but there's almost become like a culture of you have to be hypercritical about something to prove that you enjoy it, which I've found strange. So an example being, I am hyper loyal to Square Enix. And honestly, I'm just not a very negative person. I don't really like attacking things. Yes, I have qualms with everything I play, just like anyone does with anything. You know what I mean? And even things that I watch, anime, read, manga. I don't really vocalize that because I don't really see the need to pour that out into the universe. Because that's my own gripe, and maybe someone would love that thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so when I'm talking about things like Kingdom Hearts, I talk about it all the time. I adore the franchise. Is it a mess sometimes? Sure. I don't really talk about the messy stuff with it, though, because I don't care.
Yeah.
It's messy. And that is what it is. It's almost part of the charm to it for me. You know what I mean? And so if I think about that, that's one brand, I guess you could say I'm hyper loyalty. Another one would be Pokemon. I'm a very casual Pokemon player. So with the newer games where everyone's raising pitchforks because of no national decks, I'm like, I don't really care. And is that because I'm loyal to the company or just because I enjoy the games? I don't really know. I am hyper nostalgic about Kingdom Hearts, Legend of Zelda, Pokemon, all these different franchises that I've grown up with. If we're talking anime, Naruto. Really nostalgic about Naruto. Is it flawed? Heck yes it is, but do I care? Not the most. And so I would say if I had to choose the pinnacle of my loyalty to something, I would say those games and Naruto as the anime I'm by far the most loyal to.
Yeah. I guess I'm kind of the same way. I mean, already right off the bat, I typically only purchase Nintendo consoles. And I mean, growing up, I was gifted a PlayStation 1, and then later with my own allowance and just doing chores, I saved up for a PlayStation 2. But after that PlayStation 2, I never bought a PlayStation. I only bought and saved up for and did all of the things, gifted, whatever, Nintendo consoles. So I'm super into Pokemon and The Legend of Zelda and all of those things, just like you. And I think for me, I'm a very casual player. I would be what some people now would call a cozy gamer because I really only want to play cozy experiences. I'm not really into fighting a bunch. If I have to go through some type of skill tree in order to play the game, I probably am not going to play it because I don't have the mental energy to figure out a skill tree. I don't care how easy it is. If it has a skill tree, I'm giving it to you and I'm watching you play it. So that's where I lie with that. But I guess for me, brand loyalty is more so Pokemon Legends Arceus, right? This game is coming out. Is it a game that I would normally play? No. I would not normally play this game. It's cute that you can catch Pokemon. I like the open world. I like the art style. I like the story, obviously, because it's literally just Pokemon. But the combat element and the being chased by an Ursaring and how it kind of scares me a little bit, normally wouldn't play this game. But I'm still going to get it. For sure. And I still want to get it because it's Pokemon. And I want to know. And so there's things like that. Like Breath of the Wild. I love Breath of the Wild so much, and I keep going back to it because I'm just loyal to it. And then you start to develop nostalgia with it, and then it's a whole thing. And it's just a feedback loop cycle for me.
Yeah.
So I'm stuck on Nintendo anything, and I guess cozy games like the Harvest Moon / Story of Seasons of the world, the Tycoon games. I'm stuck on, obviously, like I said, Pokemon and Zelda. And then on the anime front, I grew up watching a lot of anime that I definitely shouldn't have been watching at the time. Mm-hmm. Like, I was 5 with an older brother who, oh my gosh, it's my older brother's birthday today. Happy birthday!
Happy birthday!
Hi, Alex. Who doesn't even know that the podcast exists, but,
It is what it is.
Maybe one day you'll tune in.
Yeah.
Anyways. So, yes, anyways, I have an older brother, 8 years difference. That's a big difference.
Big difference.
Which means that when I was 5 and 6 and, as I aged, I watched a lot of things I shouldn't have been watching, which gave me nostalgia for things that I shouldn't have had nostalgia for by the time I was 10. Mm-hmm. No 10-year-old should have nostalgia for Inuyasha. That doesn't make any sense.
I mean, loads do.
But like, I had nostalgia for Inuyasha and be like, oh, remember when I was in kindergarten and I watched Inuyasha? That's a weird sentence.
Yeah.
That's a weird one. So, yes, I have intense nostalgia for things like Inuyasha, where I'm going to watch Yashahime, even though I definitely have some qualms with it. I'm going to watch it.
So, for you, does your loyalty to brands and franchises and all of that kind of stuff, does it mainly stem from nostalgia?
I mean, not necessarily. Like, now I have developed a brand loyalty to Animal Crossing, and I have no nostalgia for Animal Crossing. Now I do, because it reminds me of college. But when I first started, I was immensely attached to it.
Yeah.
And I think that stems from my love of Nintendo and knowing that it's going to be a cozy game, and it reminds me of other games that I've played in that genre. Mm-hmm. So it's the whole idea of talking to villagers, which reminds me of when I would play Harvest Moon when I was younger. So you can get nostalgia, in my mind, from just mechanics, just game mechanics, that remind you of other games that you've played.
But, so it does kind of, like, come back to that loyalty always kind of stems from that nostalgia. Like, you look back on the times you've enjoyed it, and that's created a sentimental attachment. And does that sometimes make you, because I know it does for me, make you overlook some of the bad things that are happening in, like, newer games? An example being, I really like, sticking with Animal Crossing, I really like New Horizons, but their villagers aren't all that. The villagers, which we kind of talked about, but because I played Wild World as a child, I kind of grew up with it. I wasn't super into Animal Crossing on the whole till New Horizons, but I can kind of overlook the villager thing because of everything else they kind of added to the game. And so, because I have that pre-existing attachment to the franchise Animal Crossing, I am much more lenient on the things that I don't like in favor of, well, it's Animal Crossing, so I'm gonna like it. And I just search for the positives instead of razor focus on the negatives, which I'll be honest, I do in games that I don't like. I actively do not like The Elder Scrolls Skyrim, even though there's loads good about that game. Because I have no connection to it or sentimental attachment to it, I razor focus in on everything negative. Again, I don't post that on social media. I don't really put that into the universe. But I will pick that game apart in every way because I don't like it. I won't give it any passes. Whereas if it's a franchise that I do like, I give it so many free passes.
I'm looking at you mischievously because I know what this is in psychology. The halo and the horn effect.
Yes.
I know psychology. I'm a doctor. No, I'm not. I'm an artist. Anyways.
Same thing.
But I think for me, if someone came up to me, like anyone, and they just said, do you like Animal Crossing New Horizons? I'd be like, yeah, I like it.
Mm-hmm.
And then if they say something like, well, what don't you like? Like, what is a con with it? Then I'd be like, oh, okay, well, if we're going to get into it deep here, or if they just said like, well, what are the pros and cons? Or my favorite part is this, or, whatever. If I'm entering a deeper conversation about it and not just surface level, hey, do you like it? Would you rate it above like a 7 out of 10? Once I enter into a more deep conversation, then I'd be like, okay, yeah, the villagers, they don't have very many dialogue options, and I don't really like that.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, any type of surface level conversation, I typically would say that I like most games, and especially on social media, I would also be deemed like a fangirl, because at least on social media, it can get so toxic, and I know that for game devs. And when you post constantly that you hate a certain Pokemon game, then certain friends that I have had in the industry have to comb through all of those messages. And then it's just a really sad day in the office.
Yeah.
So, like, maybe think about that, because the game devs do read it, and you could... There's such a good point to valid criticism.
Yes, valid criticism is essential.
It's fantastic if you say, hey, I'd really like a national dex. Does that mean that they're going to add it? Does that mean that they can meet that? Does that mean it's in scope? Not always. But they will look at that, note it, and have that information and maybe use it in conversations in the future about whether or not they should include a national dex. Mm-hmm. Very good. We like criticism in that way. But when you say, hey, all the game devs should, whatever violent thing you want to say, maybe not. Don't do that.
Yeah, because when it comes down to it, it's just Pokemon. It's just Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah.
It really is what it is, and if you're that displeased with the direction that a franchise is going, even if it's one that you're super passionate about, and you have right to be upset. I've been upset with where franchises have gone in the past. Mm-hmm. A key example is I really don't like Sly Cooper 4 on the PS3. Really do not like it. Sly Cooper is one of my favorite platformers of all time. Mm-hmm. I'm not good. Like, I don't know. I've never felt the need to rage about it. I just didn't buy the game.
Yeah.
I tried it out. I was like, ugh, this is not for me. I don't like the direction they took this franchise. And even though I have massive nostalgia, I just enjoy the games that I enjoyed in the past and hope that someday, it's not looking likely for Sly Cooper specifically, but I hope that someday they will course correct.
Yeah.
And maybe they will. Maybe it will just be a dead, dormant franchise forever. But for something like Pokemon, it's understandable to not like the direction they have gone. Sometimes the art style... Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl is very divisive because they marketed it as a faithful remake to Diamond and Pearl, and then it was a faithful remake to Diamond and Pearl, and now people are very upset about that. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, well, I don't know what else they could have done. It's understandable. Don't buy it if you don't like the art style. But I don't think we need to get mad about these things. Justified criticism is allowed to be there. Disappointment is allowed to be there. Not saying any of that, and it's allowed to be voiced. The vitriol is the thing that I don't understand when we're talking about, like, loyalty to a franchise and an adoration for a franchise.
Yeah. And if I can go on a brief, not tangent, not exactly a rant, but just like a little aside. So I think one of the reasons why there's so much, I don't know, like an intense emotion and feeling behind brand loyalty to the point where people are attacking game devs and just feeling a lot of feelings, honestly, has something to do with the marketing. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where the negativity starts. And here's why. Coming from a person who is kind of in the game marketing sphere.
Mm-hmm.
So, something that people have been going for recently in game marketing and in every type of marketing ever is this whole idea about creating a commitment and a brand loyalty. You want brand loyalty.
Yeah.
You want people, when they think of tissues, to think of Kleenex. Like, you want your brand to become synonymous with the idea of the product and all of these things. Yes, makes sense. However, where it becomes a little bit bad is when you start to add in these subscriptions and you start to make your game involved in every single aspect of this person's life. For example, Pokemon. I love Pokemon. I love what they have done. I think that it's super fun and nostalgic, and I love the way that kids can interact with it. But when you wake up and you play Pokemon because you're brushing your teeth, and then you go on later and on your walk to school, you play Pokemon Go. And then you get to school and during lunch, you whip out your Switch and you play Pokemon with your friends and you trade with them and you do all the things. And it's your walk, it's your brushing your teeth, it's your everything. It's like, it's so involved in your daily life. You're supposed to go on Discord and talk to people about Pokemon. Mm-hmm. You're supposed to be trading cards with people. You're supposed to be collecting the figures. It's like everywhere. It's everywhere all of the time.
Yeah.
Then it almost creates what we make fun of with YouTubers and streamers, that whole parasocial relationship. You feel like you've known them. You grew up with them. They were a part of your daily life from when you woke up to when you fell asleep. It gets unhealthy at that point.
But sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah.
But I think that Pokemon is a very unique example in this conversation because not many brands have become so inundated in your day-to-day life like Pokemon has.
Well, no, but it's still what they're going for with their Discord communities and their Steam communities and the way that you pitch a living game.
Yeah.
One that has a subscription, one that has microtransactions, something like that. The drive in marketing is to make you feel like you need to participate because they want you to stay.
Yeah.
Because the whole idea with marketing these games is that it's harder to acquire new players than it is to keep existing ones.
Yeah. And so when we're talking about like games like that, I feel like there are plenty of games, though, that have an equal hold on people, but that aren't to the level. I agree with you, it's still entirely like marketing driven, but that don't have the same like level of intrusiveness into people's lives like Pokemon does.
Yes. I wasn't saying necessarily, and Pokemon is such an extreme example because they have an app where you can learn to brush your teeth. And I think that's great. That's great because it is helping kids. But I guess I was just going to like level 10 because they were the easiest for me to think of examples of. But I was more so saying that we constantly harp on public figures for creating parasocial relationships with their fans. Mm-hmm. And we don't necessarily talk about how brands are creating parasocial relationships with their fans. Yeah. Because they are. By having a Twitter account, by having a voice like that, by getting people attached in that certain way, you can develop pretty much a parasocial relationship or commitment towards this brand. And that comes down to the marketing. And it makes sense, and I understand it. And yes, it makes perfect sense why it's happening, but it's still something that the negative of that is a bunch of fanboys, fangirls, fan whoever, who then go on to have very intense emotions. Yeah. Where it's almost like, you're cheating on me, or like, I thought of you as my friend, I thought you had my best interest kind of thing, where they start to have very intense emotions about whatever brand.
Yeah. And I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing that they do this. it just does create these intense emotions.
Yes.
Because I think, I know we're talking about games right now, but I'm going to flip it to the anime side of things, right? The loyalty to franchises, like, I'm going to throw out probably the biggest one out there right now, or well, not the biggest, but one of the biggest, Demon Slayer, right? People are ravenous, ourselves included. We absolutely adore Demon Slayer.
Yeah.
And for more content, to read the manga, to cosplay as these characters, they adore the characters. And I think that that's spectacular, absolutely spectacular, because I think Demon Slayer is one of, in my personal opinion, one of the more positive anime communities kind of out there, because the author's fantastic, the subject matter's fantastic. But then we look at some communities where people are intensely loyal to the authors, not even the subject matter itself, or not even the medium itself. And the reason I'm going into this is because I don't want to name any names, I don't want to name any franchises in particular with that, but there are creators who make beloved franchises who make very questionable choices. And that goes with games. We see that with Blizzard right now. I'll name names there because that's very public. I don't want to throw any specific authors under the bus, though. But when you separate who created the game, like the author and the brand, from the product that you're consuming.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'll give an example that isn't in either of these realms specifically. You know, Harry Potter. J.K. Rowling has become an outwardly problematic individual for her stance on, you know, trans individuals' rights.
Yeah.
And I grew up as an avid Harry Potter fan. You know, I read all the books. I would watch the movies every day after school. You know, there's problematic material in all of the books, all of the movies that you can definitely point towards, but it's still something that's very ingrained in my childhood identity. And I still really enjoy it, if I'm completely honest with you. That said, I do not care for J.K. Rowling as an individual. I do not agree with her beliefs whatsoever. And so I'm kind of at a crossroads. Is, do I support the Harry Potter franchise that's coming out with the new Hogwarts Legacy game, which looks, if I'm honest, incredible? Do I watch the movies? Do I still line her pockets because I love the subject matter that she's slowly removing herself from, even though it's still giving her money? Or do I completely abstain from involving myself with that material because she is kind of the worst a lot of the time?
Yeah. You
know what I mean? I think that's a tricky kind of question in this whole debate as well, because when do you separate yourself from something that you love because the people working on it or the people who created it are not the most savory of individuals?
Yeah, and you're specifically talking about the figurehead, the originator. But if you consider all of the other hundreds of people that have to participate in something, it becomes even messier. Because if you're going to not participate in something Harry Potter related because of J.K. Rowling, then you're not considering the one sound guy who abused his girlfriend.
Yeah.
Like,
I didn't know about that.
Well, no, I don't know if there's a sound guy who abused his girlfriend, but there could be.
Yeah.
There could be someone who was a thief. There could be someone who broke whatever other rules or had whatever bad opinions that worked on it, and we just don't know that they exist.
Yeah.
They're not the figurehead, but you're lining their pockets and they're bad.
Yeah.
So it's like a tricky situation there.
But on top of that, though, like, yes, there might be bad people in these, but I'm sure that the vast majority of people who develop these games, who make the movies, are probably good people.
Yes, exactly.
You know? And I'm sure there's bad people who have worked on probably every game
Yes.
that we enjoy.
Exactly.
That's the point you were trying to get at.
That's exactly the point I was going with, was, yes, there's a figurehead. The J.K. Rowling, the Shigeru Miyamoto, the whoever, there's always someone.
Shigeru Miyamoto is an unproblematic
yes,
king.
Fantastic.
To be fair.
I was naming figureheads that I could think of off the top of my head.
We're not coming for Miyamoto.
Oh no, Miyamoto's great.
No.
But, okay, I was just thinking, like,
yes.
Horikoshi, there's, like,
yes.
Takia, there's so many figureheads, right? The author, the originator. But there's hundreds of people who work under them to actually develop or create or, like, do all of the things. The one person had the idea, the one person wrote the majority of whatever. But then there are other people who have to, like, do it and distribute it and localize it and do all of the things.
And market it.
And, like, there's so many people involved here. And a lot of them are going to be great. And a lot of them are not going to be good. So, just because the figurehead is bad, newsflash, guys. This is crazy. Mm-hmm. The figurehead, at this point, no matter what the franchise is, they already have all their money invested. You could never buy anything from them ever again. Everyone could boycott them. They already have their money invested. They're still going to be making money.
Yeah.
They're still going to be a millionaire. It doesn't matter what we do. It doesn't matter how we boycott. They're still going to be making money. So for my own personal beliefs, to answer your question, or whatever you were asking, or whatever you were reaching there, I still end up supporting it simply because I know that there's such a messy situation behind the scenes that I could never fully understand. And I can't live my life constantly trying to fight all of those battles because it will just make me tired. So I'm just going to do what I can. And I'm just going to enjoy what I can. Because at the end of the day, me giving $10 to rent a Harry Potter movie on whatever, it's not gonna do much. And if I can buy something used, I will. And that makes me feel better. Like buying a used game or getting the movie from a library or something like that. Giving my support in a different way makes me feel good. It makes me feel better about it. And that's just for a me thing. But yeah, overall, everyone can only do so much, and you don't know what the situation is like behind the scenes. By you choosing to play something else, you could be helping some random sound guy line his pockets, or some random whoever artist who they were scummy. Yeah. And you lined their pockets, and you just didn't know because they weren't the figurehead.
Yeah, because you can't research all 9,000 people who work on anything. Yeah. And so I think that a lot of people think of, if they enjoy a thing that was created by someone, that directly means that they support that individual. Mm-hmm. And I think it's a lot more nuanced and a lot less simple than that. Like, if we look at the Blizzard situation, I'll be the first to say, before I knew about the Blizzard everything, I was a Blizzard. You would call me a fanboy. It was my dream to go to BlizzCon because I adored, and still do adore, a lot of my memories with their games. Overwatch, World of Warcraft, StarCraft 2, StarCraft 1, Diablo. All of these games that they are so well known for, I played, I loved. Like, I was fully in. If you look at the amount of Blizzard merchandise in our apartment, it's egregious. Yeah. Because I was all in. And now, I don't think I regret buying those things now that I know the full scope, because I don't really research the people who create the games that I play. That said, until things with Blizzard are better, I don't personally feel comfortable buying any of their stuff. Yeah. Not necessarily, because I do still want to support the developers, because there are still a lot of people employed by Blizzard who are good people and who are actually the victims in this situation. So do we want them to lose their jobs? Like, there are a lot of game developers in the world, but that doesn't mean that everyone can just get a job at another studio at the drop of a hat. You know what I mean? And so I still want to support them, but right now I just am disillusioned with all Blizzard games, and I'd kind of been heading to that direction anyways. The recent World of Warcraft expansions just haven't been it. I've been preferring Final Fantasy XIV. Overwatch got stale for me. They completely sunsetted StarCraft 2 for all intents and purposes, which I think is their best game. And they just don't support that really anymore. And so, like, I don't know. I just don't feel good about buying their stuff because I'm not interested. And also, they just give me the heebie-jeebies right now. But I don't think that me not paying for those things is going to affect them to a meaningful extent.
No.
Like, in reality, I don't think I'm, like, voting with my wallet. I don't see it like that. You know, when people were boycotting Sword and Shield and voting with their wallets, it's like, yes, don't buy the game if it's not appealing to you, if you don't like the direction they're headed. Don't buy the game. Save yourself some money, save yourself some time. It's still going to be an incredibly well-selling franchise no matter what happens. I've never understood how can you like these things even though they're headed in this direction, because it's all subjective. Like, the Pokemon Company in reality has never done anything that wrong. Like, maybe it could be argued they put less effort into games now. I don't really agree with that notion personally, but I guess it could be argued. And I don't know.
Yeah, that we know of, that we're aware of.
Yeah, I'm not there. I'm not. If you have information, if you are in Game Freak and you know for a fact that they are not working hard on these games, then that's a conversation. But I don't know that.
Yeah.
I'm sure that the devs do everything in their power to individually animate and program thousands of moves and hundreds of individual Pokemon.
Yeah.
Which is ridiculous and more than most games have to do.
Yeah. But, I don't know. I guess one thing that is a bit different between gamers specifically is the willingness to fight battles on behalf of the company. So for you really like Blizzard, or you did, and you have a lot of nostalgia there. You didn't even mention this. You were into the esports. You had jerseys. You had you had so many shirts, so much merch, posters on your wall. Like, I mean, like, you were in it.
Yeah.
One of the first videos on the channel was a Zenyatta video.
Yeah, and I was obsessed with StarCraft 2 to the point where I, like, watched back when MLG was still a thing. I had favorite StarCraft 2 players. I was absolutely obsessed with players like Spanishiwa and Liquid TLO and Huck and all of those people. Like, I was in it with these Blizzard properties. They defined my teens. Yeah.
And so the difference between you and maybe someone who might be on the wrong side, hot take in my opinion, of this whole situation with Blizzard is that when the news came out, you said, ooh, I don't know if I'm comfortable with Blizzard. I'm going to take a step back. Whereas some fanboys, in air quotes, they would say, well, who cares? Sometimes you need a little bit of harassment at work to get the stuff done. It's fine.
Yeah.
You know, and they defend the company.
And
that's a little skeevy.
That's skeevy. And then there are the people in the middle who just aren't involved in the news, really.
Yeah.
You know? Like, you could say, I don't really like Blizzard, but I really like Overwatch, so I'm going to keep playing Overwatch. And you know what? Cool. That's fine.
No, that's perfectly fine.
That's fine. You don't have to take, I think that's the point.
Yeah.
You don't have to take a stance.
You don't have to take a stance. And if a company does something wrong, you don't have to fight their battles, because sometimes you really shouldn't. You really shouldn't be fighting their battles.
Yeah, they're multi-million-dollar corporations. You don't need to be fighting their battles for them, because they're gonna be fine. And if they're not, then they're not. And that's whatever. we don't need to pour our identity and our sense of self into these game devs or into these massive brands. Like, maybe someone really talks bad on Naruto. I'm not going to go to war with them to say, well, Naruto is great for this, and this reason. If they don't like Naruto for X, Y, or Z, then they don't like Naruto for X, Y, or Z. They could say it's crap. They could say it's terrible. I think it's amazing. And their opinion doesn't really affect my enjoyment in any way, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, I'm going to stay, quote unquote, loyal to Naruto. You know, if Naruto, or I guess Boruto now, starts having very racist themes in it, then I would say, okay, I'm done. Mm-hmm. You know, I liked it when it wasn't awful, and now I don't like it now that it is.
Mm-hmm.
And that's okay. And it's okay to change your stance on something too, in my personal opinion, because there are good things that have gone south very quickly.
Yeah.
And saying, I like this part of it, but I can't agree with the direction they've headed, that's fine. Be nostalgic, still love the stuff that you loved when you were younger, and just have your own opinions, I guess.
Yeah. On our soapbox, that's our overall message, is
Yes.
just, have an opinion, and maybe don't make it violent.
Yeah, I don't know.
But, I don't know. Like, brand loyalty is such a touchy thing. And there are a lot of pros. There are a lot of cons. There's a lot of nostalgia mixed in there. Some parasocial relationships. Like, it gets deep. Mm. And so that's why when you look back on, like, the 80s and whatever, and you look back at the Nintendo versus Sega stuff, and you look back at, like, where we started with this, specifically with games, I'm thinking of, it's just crazy to see where it has gone.
Yeah. And I think Sega's interesting because if you create that lasting impact in someone, then the goodwill for that brand can be crazy. Sonic being a huge example of that. Sonic games have arguably not been consistently, not arguably, they haven't been consistently, quote unquote, good for a long time. But they're still super popular because they create such goodwill with their fans from early on. And I think they still care about their fans. They just struggle to make good games that are universally liked. Every game has its fans, its detractors, But, I think that's what it comes down to. Whether you're loyal to a brand, whether you refuse to be loyal to a brand, just like what you like.
Yeah.
That's how I live, at least. I like what I like. I don't like what I don't like. And that is what it is.
Yeah. And to bring it into Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl a little bit here, because that is the game that we've been playing. One thing that I have consistently run into on Twitter, and even in my own home, is the music in Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl. Guys, hot take, I'm not a fan. I don't... Ugh. I know. I am so nostalgic and so attached to the DS music that I don't want the reorchestrated tracks. And I didn't want to spoil myself. I didn't want to hear it yet, because then I knew that I'd hate it right away. I wanted to hear it in the context of the actual game. I did. Gotta say, listening to that music with headphones in is grating. I don't know why. My ears are not happy. But when I listen to it without headphones in, it's a bit better. But I still, if I want to have a good experience with the music from Diamond and Pearl, with the, just even the musical notes, the original sheet music, okay? We're talking just the sounds. If I want to have a good experience with that music, I'm going to listen to the DS version. And a lot of people I have discovered on Twitter and in my own home.
Who could that be? Toffee.
No. A lot of people don't agree with me.
Yeah.
And I mean, I was watching an Austin John video and he does not agree with me, let me tell you. And that's okay. And I understand that. But, man, when people insult the DS music, I have that loyalty, I have those nostalgia glasses on that I almost take it a little bit personally, which is where I started to go with the parasocial relationship with it. Like, why do I have a parasocial relationship with Diamond and Pearl? Like, what's going on? Why am I trying to fight their battles? I don't know. But I, like, take it personally, and it's weird. Because it's so ingrained with your childhood.
Yeah, and I think that happens a lot. I know I take a lot of stuff personally. Mm-hmm. Like, I see a lot of JRPG slander.
Yeah.
And I see a lot, just in my personal life, of, people who like JRPGs are weirdos and weebs, and, like, that's not a bad thing to like JRPGs, but I see so many people just, like, talk down, like, they're not real games, they're not a Skyrim or a Call of Duty or a Mass Effect. Mm-hmm. And so, like, I want to share that I like these things in person because I feel like it's an attack on me. But I still do share these things. I'm almost louder and prouder about it. Like, you know what I mean? I almost, like, push back.
Yeah.
And so, like, I don't know. It's this weird kind of duality where I don't want to have to defend myself for liking these things, but I feel the need to defend myself for enjoying these brands and these things. And I don't know if that's brand loyalty. I don't know if that's a personal thing. I don't really know what that is. Mm-hmm. But I do, and I have my whole life, I didn't let anyone know I liked video games till I was like 17.
Yeah, true.
Like, I just very much kept that on the down low because when we were in high school specifically, I don't know if it's eased up. I think it has, but it was very taboo to like video games and anime.
In your school, for some strange reason, my school was an enigma. I don't understand what was going on. But all of the people who would typically be the most popular people in school, they all really liked games and anime. So, like, the head cheerleader, huge fan of anime. We would talk about it all the time. And the head of the wrestling team, the quarterback on the football team, like, they all, for whatever reason, all really liked games and anime, and then they had their own hobbies outside of everything and went on to become the best in cheerleading or the best in wrestling, and they just happened to like games and anime. We all grew up with it, so then we were all friends. And it was a really weird situation where everyone was just super cool with games and anime. It was like normalized.
Yeah.
It was very weird. I grew up in a very strange situation, which is why I feel like I was able to be so comfortable with my identity and with everything that I liked and my hobbies, because everyone liked it. Mm-hmm. And so I grew up in a very different situation. So when people say that they were bullied for it, like, I was bullied in middle school for liking anime because there were just some people who didn't like it. And at that point, we were in middle school. The head cheerleader and the head wrestler and the quarterback, like, those people weren't into that yet. We had not reached that point. But yeah, we grew up in different situations.
Yeah.
It's just so weird when you boil it all down.
Yeah. And I feel like it kind of strays away from the topic a little bit, but I do think it's important that even if, like, people do, because I'm sure there are still areas where, like, video games are weird, and being loud and proud about watching Naruto is weird. Mm-hmm. I think it's okay to just say that a lot of the people who are saying it's weird will probably like it in the future.
Yes.
And, like, not to take it too seriously. Like, if you want to keep it to yourself, keep it to yourself. If you want to share it, do what's best for you at that time. It made my life a lot easier to just kind of squelch it down and just like keep my interest to myself, just because I knew it would just be more of a headache than a help to actively talk about that. And I just focused on my other interests in school and kept my head down in terms of my nerdy passions. And then I would get home from school or soccer practice or whatever, and I'd play StarCraft for the rest of the night. Or Minecraft or whatever me and my friends were playing that day. And that's cool. That's fine.
Yeah.
I don't know. Weird stuff.
Yeah.
Weird stuff. But is there anything else you want to add?
I mean, I feel like we could talk about this for like 5 more hours and go on like 10 tangents, but, maybe we shouldn't do that.
Yeah. So I think we've already kind of touched on it, but we should go into where we play and where we're watching.
Yeah. So for playing, I already mentioned, we're playing Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl.
Mm-hmm.
So John's playing Brilliant Diamond, I'm playing Shining Pearl. How do you feel about it?
I love it. I really do. I like the art style. I'm actually doing a Nuzlocke, which I've never completed a Nuzlocke before in my life because I've just never tried it. But I was like, I've played Diamond and Pearl before I played Platinum. So let's add some spice so that I don't use the same Pokemon that I always use.
Mm-hmm.
And last night was a tough night. I lost 3 soldiers. It was a long play session, to be fair, but I lost 3 soldiers. It was a tough day. We're replenishing the army.
Oh my gosh.
But we're 3 gyms down.
Mm-hmm.
We're 3 gyms down. So I think it's doable. I got my Torterra, my Luxray. I have a Ponyta.
Mm-hmm.
I have Meditite. I'm using Jirachi.
Good.
Which is helpful. And the 5th one, I think I have a Bidoof right now or something.
Oh, beautiful.
No, Kricketune. I just caught Kricketune.
Whoop. Whoop. Oh no.
But yeah, I'm having a good time. I think it's a lot of fun. It's as Pokemon gets, and it's simple, and I like that.
Yeah. I'm pretty much doing a carbon copy of exactly what I did when I played Pearl, which is pretty fun and nostalgic, and I'm having a great time. I started with a Piplup, which I named Slushy, and we're best friends. It's a great time. I just have like all the basic ones, like the Staravias and the Shinx and I'm in there. And I haven't caught anything unique. I have been spending a lot of time in the Grand Underground, so you'd think I would catch something spicy that I normally wouldn't be able to catch, but I haven't really done anything spicy. I have a Mew, because that is spicy. But
Spicy.
The Mew, which I have named Bean, is pretty useless right now, because I guess they didn't want me to be overpowered, and Mew doesn't start out with a lot of level up moves. So yeah, overall I'm having a very nostalgic time, even though I technically have Mew in my party. Not really doing very much overall. I don't even think I've tried to use Mew, just because I don't have very many good moves. And one of my criticisms of the game is that they have breakable TMs again, you can only use them once. So I know that I could use any TM I wanted on my Mew, but I don't want to just be throwing TMs at my Mew.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's one of those difficult decisions where it's like, do I give this to my Mew, or do I wait, or what do I do? So yeah, I've gotten past the 2nd gym. I'm not doing anything crazy like you are with a Nuzlocke. I'm just trying to recreate my experience from when I played when I was like 11 or whatever.
Yeah.
Yep.
Cool. And other than that, we're continuing to play Pikmin Bloom. And I have been on a Naruto bender, if you will.
Yeah, you want to tell them what episode you're on? After only watching it for how many days has it been? Like 4 days or something?
It doesn't matter.
Okay.
So I work from home sometimes. And on virtual days, if I'm not in meetings, I'm probably grading. And I can grade and have something on in the background. So I've already watched Naruto before, so I don't need to pay that much attention to it.
That's your
Don't
reasoning.
need to pay that much attention to it while I'm grading. And so I just want to have something that I enjoy on in the background of my 8-hour days.
Mm-hmm.
And so I may or may not be in stage 3 of the tuning exams. I may or may not be on episode 36 of Naruto. That may or may not be the case.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, it took me about a week. Episode 36. It's been a good time, I must say. I really love the show. I love the show just as much as I did when I was a child. Probably more because I can actually appreciate it. And I actually understand what's happening all of the time.
Mm-hmm.
You can really see when Masashi Kishimoto, when he hits his stride with the writing. Because the opening episodes, not it. Not that great. But you hit the Land of the Waves arc. You hit the fight with Zabuza and Haku, and you're just like, okay, we cruising now. And also, I think it's so funny how much stuff in this show that is very important at the beginning, and then they just never talk about again. Like, when Kakashi was fighting Zabuza, he, says the name of all of the hand signs as he's going. And it's like, they never do that again. What's happening? They have, a little chant going on. And, maybe I'm wrong, but I never see that again. And so I think that's really funny.
Mm.
But, yeah, so I'm enjoying it. You've been watching it kind of-ish. So how have you been enjoying it?
I have never really seen Naruto, because guess what, kids? Back in the day, we used to watch things on television, not streaming services.
What?
And so, if I wanted to watch an anime, I had to follow a TV guide that was printed. And it would tell me when the episodes were going to come out so I could watch them in order. And I didn't have that kind of dedication to Naruto when I was 8 years old, or however old I was.
Dare you?
I'm sorry. So I watched the first episode, I watched the second episode, and then I couldn't tell you what episodes I watched because they were entirely out of order, and I had no idea what was going on. I could not follow the story in any way whatsoever, and I gave up very quickly. Mm-hmm. Because the only show that I had dedication to, brand loyalty to, was Inuyasha. So I read that TV guide, and I would make sure I followed those episodes in order. But with Naruto, that didn't happen. So I don't really understand what's going on. I just know that it's very violent, and it makes me kind of sad sometimes to see these kids fighting for their lives, and it makes me sad. And then I'm like, Sakura, you shouldn't have to do that. And she's cutting her hair, and it was emotional.
It was emotional. And she gets too much grief.
I don't get it. And so I look up every now and then from TikTok or Pokemon or whatever I'm doing. I'll look up if I see something interesting happening, or if there's a lot of yelling, or if there's a lot of laughing. If there's a lot of anything, then I'll look up and I'll check out what's going on the screen. And I understand why people like Naruto, and I could probably watch it. But I'm still going to choose not to. But
that's fair.
I'm having a good time watching you watch it.
Hey.
So that's all that matters.
Hey. But, yeah, so is there anything else that you would like to talk about?
If you still like this kind of format where we rant and rave about a certain subject, please let us know, because I would like to know, so that we can make sure that you will enjoy these podcasts.
We would love to know so that we can make this as enjoyable of an experience for you as it is for us.
Yeah, because I could talk to John about anything, so don't worry about that. Just what do you want to hear? Yeah, mostly.
We talk a lot.
All the time.
All the time.
Constantly.
We're married.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I could talk to this guy about anything.
This guy.
Hey.
And
if you have any subjects that you would like us to cover, we've done nostalgia at this point. We've done how do you make a living game, or like what makes a living game
in game feel alive.
A game feel alive.
Yeah.
I was thinking of the thumbnail and not the subject.
Yeah.
Anyways, if you have a subject that you want us to touch on, then like hit us up because our brains could use ideas.
Always.
Mm-hmm.
But that'll do it for this week's episode of ThoughtCast. And if you like ThoughtCast, then make sure to rate us 5 stars. Follow us on wherever you listen to us at. And if you watch us on YouTube, like the video, subscribe, and why not even ring that notification bell so you never miss another upload. And as always, we hope you have a fantastic rest of your day, a fantastic rest of your week, and why not even a fantastic rest of your month. And we will see you on Wednesday. Later.
See ya.